each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail.
Improvise. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
Lynn, welcome to the show, Lynn.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I can't believe it. I feel like I won the game show.
Dun, 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 dun. Yes, you did. You are the next contestant on the Galactic Historian Meeting Show.
Yay!
So as usual,
well,
I like to find out how people found out about me. How did you run across my material?
Okay, well, I actually heard you on Laura Eisenhower's show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what recorded date and time that show was actually done, but somehow I worked my way from her over to you.
and now here you are.
and now I'm a affirmed groupie.
Very, very good. So you've heard me do readings. You know how this works. You have the Akashic record of this world and 20,000 other worlds open to you. What questions do you have? How do you want this to evolve?
Oh, I guess I just want to know my soul signature, who I really am, and what I'm doing here, and how I'm doing, and evolving, and I do have questions as well, and so I guess I don't know where else to begin.
Well, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to ask you about this morning when you first woke up. What did you dream last night? What did you do in that first 10 minutes? In that first 10 minutes of the day, there's an Akashic record that is very specific for each individual that's coming from the dream world back to the physical world, whether you remember your dreams or not. And when you go back to that first 10 minutes and you really try to think what was going on in your reality, you bring a whole bunch of things up in your field. So why don't you give me about 10 or 20 seconds out loud of what it was like when you first woke up, that first 10 minutes in the morning, a synopsis.
Okay, so I was dreaming about what felt like kind of covert activity going on, and I seemed to be running around in the dream trying to really dig into these secret, hidden, covert activities, and I was finding a lot of silver and gemstones that were wrapped up, and I was trying to uncover these gemstones and the silver and unwrap these little bundles.
Yeah.
And I just remember it feeling very secretive, and like I really didn't want people to see me doing it, although I felt like there were a lot of eyes on me. And well, I think it's that.
I've tuned into your dream world from that, and that is an Agarthan network dream. That means you're dreaming with your highest layers of ancestors, and the secrecy that you're dealing with is the secrecy of what's left in the actual ancestral record, which is separate of the Akashic record. The ancestral record is our DNA that is on the surface. All of our DNA there is an exact frequency copy of it in a group of crystals in 4 different sections of the Earth. There are repositories of DNA information, and you've been getting into these repositories that have been locked out of the 4 previous timeline genocides. And the reason they were locked out is they didn't want anyone to see what life would look like at the end. They still wanted people to go through the extended experience. But after a while, people in various mystery schools or in various forms and modes of ethereal education learned how to access the other worlds expression of what the life world is through their lens of perception from their world to our world. So it was a backdoor way of getting into these particular records. And the secrecy of each little gemstone is what's in each DNA rung, what is in each DNA expression, what species has gone permanently extinct in the DNA record as well as the light body record. And once you have that copy of them, you can bring those species out of non-existence. Because we as a species have already proved we can come out of an uncreational event, which is very similar to non-existence. Non-existence is when a being lets go of their I am presence and returns to the void in between universes and waits until it has a deeper bond or connection to leftover soul shards in different galaxies, universes, dimensions, or time spaces, and then it will come out of the void and begin to learn from its other pieces and begin to integrate them once again. In an uncreational event, we were literally brought into a whole new expression of the void where nothing existed. There were not only other beings, only beings who had an I am presence but no physical body, and we couldn't survive that way. So we created these repositories of wisdom to make sure that other beings could always connect to their DNA wisdom. So in these particular dreams, you're connecting to the Agarthan network of what has already gone through the extinction process. These are these gems of life that can get to come back to our world and bring incredible beauty. An example would be, in your DNA lineage would be like a unicorn. If you had multiple divinity path unicorn beings live in your DNA lineage, that means at some point you and somebody else in your lineage could get together in a sacred space that wouldn't have to be male or female. They could doesn't matter, and you'd create an energetic space in which the unicorn concept can begin to return to the ancestral teachers. Once a being goes through its extinction karma, it goes to Hollow Earth, and it can only function at the highest layers of soul guides. This would mean a unicorn species would now have direct access as a local spirit guide. It could begin to repopulate the surface of the Earth.
Have you seen a unicorn concept that's like combined with a zebra?
Unizebras? Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think the horn really represents?
Depends on who's using it.
On the unicorn.
Okay. Well, when I tune into it, it represents multiple things. So, like the apex of the representation.
Yes.
Oh, I'm getting, since it's like in the un-E concept, unity of like unicorns are more than just what that representation of their body is. They're multi-dimensional at a lot of levels. They're not just, they are aware of other versions of themselves. They're aware of timelines on a very deep level. You talk about leapfrogging, etc. Like also like this. when I tune it into horses that want the concept of being a source horse, they'll take on that format of unicorn more than most.
Yeah. So a unicorn, the horn represents the entire lineage that has ever lived inside that lineage of unicorns. And the horn represents if there's ever a fallout of the species, the horn can respawn an entire breeding group.
Yeah.
So it's about saving species. That's why unicorns were brought here, because they were bringing reality-altering weapons all the time. And if they could get enough DNA lineages into the unicorn lineage, if everyone died, one horn is all it took, and they could bring everyone back to life.
That's great.
So that put a whole bunch of very unique souls and chances to like, all right, I got to go live out a unicorn just in case the world ends. And there were a lot of them said, all right. Once they started unicorn hunting,
divinity path unicorn beings live in your DNA lineage. That means at some point you and somebody else in your lineage could get together in a sacred space that wouldn't have to be male or female. It could doesn't matter, and you'd create an energetic space in which the unicorn concept can begin to return to the ancestral teachers. Once a being goes through its extinction karma, it goes to Hollow Earth and it can only function at the highest layers of soul guides. This would mean a unicorn species would now have direct access as a local spirit guide. It could begin to repopulate the surface of the Earth.
Wow. Okay, that's cool. That's very interesting. So when I have these dreams and I'm waking into these moments of being lucid and yet still very much in the dream world, is there a way to help then get the information more forward in my conscious world to actually, say, work with the unicorn energy and bring in that species so that it can find its way into incarnating? Or
Yes, there's many ways, and it's about you as the individual spiritual being setting up a sacred space in which you can begin to have a soul family reunion dream space where you set a series of weeks aside in a year, where you know a year ahead of time or months ahead of time that these weeks, every night that you go to sleep, you have mantras and meditations and ceremonial preparations that when you're sleeping at night, you're having soul family reunion in your sacred space and you're inviting your soul family members. And once you begin uniting the soul family matrix, is where after 2, 3, or 4 days of soul family visitations, you'll be able to create a dream construct in which many of these other beings can begin to take less ethereal form and more tangible form. Well, they'll begin to show up as orbs in photographs or actual sparkly lights that are around you in videos. And this is when you are manifesting at such a high level. But there is a process that one goes through to manifesting these beings. But in your particular cases, the soul codes that you have are to literally create dream spaces that are mobile. I mean, how do I describe it? It's like you can go to a place, like you could go to a coffee shop and be in super high frequency and leave a hunk of energy behind that's not a soul shard, that is not a program, and it's not dense energy. It just basically says the dreamweave energy is going to come together here, and you put a piece of the universal essence in there. That's the best way I can describe it. And that place becomes a nexus point where all other people that still have dreamweave energy within their energy field, they'll connect to that nexus point and begin to give it more and more and more and more until it creates its own form of sacred geometry as an amalgamation of all that energy in that place, and it begins to resolve dream space 1 degree separation issues. It connects people and soul families. It creates astral roadways between people's personal worlds. That's what you're meant to do, is set up these local nexuses. In shamanic expression, it would be when one shaman goes to another village, they stop multiple times on the way and have different ceremonies so that they can connect to the ancestors that they're about to meet in a few days.
Okay. Oh, very nice. I like that. That's really, really, really beautiful. I like that. I got the image of leaving a piece of gold as like a soul signal for the,
Alrighty, let's see if we have another caller there. San Jose, are you there? Your name and where you're calling from? Wait,
Rachel?
Hi, Rachel. How you doing today?
Good, how are you?
And you're in San Jose today?
Yes.
So what kind of questions do you want to ask for Living the Mystical Life Daily?
I had a pretty crazy experience up in Cobb Mountain. I was wondering what kind of power the geysers hold to the power plant. You understand what I'm saying?
No, you keep breaking up.
I go closer. What powers the geysers hold? I know that it can be a very spiritual place.
The geysers
For
where?
energy at Cobb Mountain.
Oh, wherever there's natural steam geysers, you have an intense hollow earth connection there. Usually there's some form of pre-nuclear organic process going on, meaning some of the radioactive mineral communities have coalesced and created a heat source that is duplicating the sun, the energy from the sun to the stone levels, because the stones can act as a portal direct to the sun, and they'll be using a variety of other, let's just say, ancestral processes to create an air of correlation of resolution energy. So every time there is a geyser going forward, there's a form of direct manifestation of resolution energy here. And this is in general for most geysers throughout the world. They are a form of creating ancestral resolution between hollow earth and surface earth, like a safety valve to make sure one doesn't get out of control of another. And it was something that was installed by the Great Atlantean builders at around 19 million years ago. Though it has had many issues, and other off-world systems have tried to, let's just say, break the system or create something that was an illusion behind it. But ultimately, these geysers are bringing pranic life force, pureness of earth energy through the power of steam and water to create a new form of surface programming on them. So yes, they are forms of great change.
Yeah, because I saw all my lives, and then I was just kind of trying to make sense of it. I'm new to all this, and but through that it led me to you. So I'm still just trying to figure this all out, what I saw and how to make sense of it and how to go forward.
So what are you picking up angles that might be good to explore, mate?
Let's do the obvious, Hollow Earth.
Okay.
So we can brand it Hollow Earth Update.
Well, I plan to do others in that series. So that original recording was from
The one with Sean?
No, the Hollow Earth Part 1, right? That was between you and me. That was from April 2014 when the AI shows were done. And
okay.
And you sort of...
What did we talk about in that one?
What that was about, because there was this hindsight review recording I did with you that was released about October 2017, and that was sort of just, that was a mark and a line in the sand, so to speak, of what you'd done up to that point and how the reality had perceived it, and there wasn't a great perception of what you'd done. And then you made a joke in that about, maybe I'll tell a message to the guys down there, and you joked about it, and then we actually did it. So what you talked about was basically the most relevant thing going on right now is the negotiations between the dimensionals and Hollow Earth, and we're not a part of it. And it's fascinating, all right, because I actually posted that video in a certain area, and they called it fake. They call the Hollow Earth aspect fake, and I can appreciate that from people that don't want to go beyond the 3D 5 cents thing, because it can sort of have a link between Hollow Hollow Earth and Flat Earth, but they're absolutely nothing related to each other. Nothing.
Because when you get to the understanding, you can live have entire societies and cultures live in between the space of atoms. That means you have a humongous potential of Hollow Earth cultures.
Absolutely.
It's like Hollow Earth.
I mean, things have bled through like Shangri-La and Telos and stuff like that. And if someone else is saying it with a lot of mystery and gaps of what is going on, it's eaten up. People
Right.
just like devour it, but because you're so precise and exact, you leave not a lot of mystery. It's people really love that gap of like, oh, I don't know what's going on, but
Your clickbait.
yeah. They accept like gaps, but absolutes don't want to know about it.
Right.
But so this is a follow up to Hollow Earth, mate.
You'll have to send me that recording so I can listen to it again.
The show.
No, the one where I did the Hollow Earth recording with you, where I told we talked to them.
Yeah, I released that show a few weeks ago.
Okay, I think I listened to that.
No, this is when you're away. It was a pretty big show because I had a big shift on that day as well.
I think I listened to it when I was in Egypt. I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah, it was good because basically you said, sum up a lot of the factions and the collectives. You used another word for them, sort of. That word escapes me right now, but they've got to face the consequence of what they've done, and they've been putting it off for thousands of years, and they're having these interactions over the dinner table of what are they going to do, because sort of the solar system relative to the frequencies now from crossing the galactic central plane mean that there's more variables and portals are being opened, and so it's resolution time. And if they've used timeline genocide, for example, to wipe out an opposition, and they haven't resolved the consequence of that, then it's time that they've got to face it. That's sort of a brief summary, and I don't want to speak for too long, because then you can actually offer your perspectives.
Now, I do remember the show now, not all the specifics, but the same thing still applies today, is they're still in the debate of, well, what next? They've realized it's a zero-sum game. And the AIs also know it's a zero-sum game, where the last 150 years of rapid industrialization, where they thought was the plan that they would never be able to figure out, was predicted already, thousands of years in advance. And there is a lessening of the hot air of the egos of those that run the system, both in the light dictatorship and the other factions and fractal factions that are trying to distort love as a process here on the world. That's ultimately what the essence breaks down. If they can distort love, they can keep domination and control anywhere else that they want. Because that's the fundamental thing they changed here. And as soon as they change that as a fundamental, the shit rolls downhill into the DNA, which is based off of memories. If the fundamental memories are changed, skewed, with a different form of light behind them, the person that goes to look at those memories, well, something's wrong here. That's the duality taking over and stopping you from being a singularity. That's what the system does.
So when did love get skewed, mate?
Oh, millions of years ago.
Okay.
And that's what took us from higher density beings to this density now, from 7th to 3rd.
Okay. So you're talking Lemurian time and stuff like that. Yeah, a long time ago.
Same thing. You can look at fractionalized debt or factionalized debt. It's the same thing of what's happened here on Earth with love. It's been watered down and watered down and watered down. And the true essence of it was connecting an interconnectivity to the all that is, was, and ever will be, this great source energy, which is each sentient conscious being's legacy to have a connection to.
Yep.
That does not need the medium of a religion or esoteric practices.
Yeah.
Self-illumination is your legacy.
Yeah.
DNA skin suit. That goes back to our thymus conversation.
Mm.
It's what triggers the psychic skills. Also determines what your final height is. There are so many people, I look at them and they have all these mechanical issues on their body because they were supposed to be 3 inches taller, because that they were in harsh times during their puberty awakening and there wasn't somebody healing the great traumas that they were going through, that they didn't get to their full height.
Mm. Mm.
That's what distorts the shoulders, the tailbone, the head itself.
So Hollow Earth.
Yes. As I've said many times before, there are 10,000 different species down there and about 30 billion living beings, sentient living beings, plus artificial beings that we must give sentience to because they've been alive, many of them for tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years, and have great knowledge and experience. They may not have a full I amness, but they're still sentient and no longer artificial. They've lived long enough to figure out how to dream, a real dream with the world, the planet, the celestial being, and create their own version of faith. So we, as the surface beings, have been their DNA farms, so that high-frequency souls can come in and learn at the School of Hard Knocks and then make their way into the Hollow Earth, into those species down there. It's a proving ground that you can come into these higher density species because of the experience that you go through on the surface. Now, those farms have effectively been rules changed to the point where they can no longer take the chattel and market them for valuation across the stars. The commodities market of DNA has come to a crashing halt in the old way. It's still traded, but no longer with unlimited rules that say you can do whatever you want. The majority of the DNA black market has been eliminated, as well as those whole sects of personalities that wanted to become vastly wealthy with knowledge and becoming DNA smugglers off-world.
Yeah.
That's essentially coming to an end. So there's DNA being traded, and now the higher frequency celestial contacts and other planets have much more authority in that area because of the multidimensional, let's just say, ring of protectors from the various aspects of universes that have come here to enforce that the DNA trade has to have some kind of valuable rules to it that stop timeline genocide.
Yeah.
That stop whole sects of people of getting the potentiality of those things without the responsibility and awareness with love behind it.
Mm. So is this a process over quite a long time, or it's been relatively recent?
No, it's over a long period of time. Yeah. What it is great cycles of understanding are coming to an end.
Yeah, so it's being nullified by the consequence, basically.
It's a zero-sum game.
Yeah, yeah.
That the time they've been in it, it's been a zero-sum game. And the whole time they egoically believed they had already won.
And they were blind. They missed the whole variable, whole data set.
Yep, that completely made it a zero-sum game. And if people don't know that word, it means you gain nothing aggregate.
Other than consequence and avoiding consequence, which makes it worse. It's like a rapist, like murdering their victim. This is escalating the worst, you know. Sorry for that metaphor, but... yeah, interesting.
So, Hollow Earth, if I want to make it clickbaity, you know, I can do what Cobra does. Yobuth, the Yobuth technology. And Yobuth is a word from Call of Cthulhu. It's one of those dark frequencies. So why is he drawing on the myths of Call of Cthulhu and that particular personality to put it as material? Because he's clickbaiting your ass.
Mm.
Okay? He could call it the 123 multidimensional virus, but it would have no sticking to anyone, would it?
No.
Okay? Or the toplet bombs or the plasma stranglet bombs, words that he created so that people will create myth for it.
Yeah.
I can do all that. I don't want to.
Michael Zarin, who was a really good teacher for me before you really came into my world, he coined a term for me which was called talismanic words, where
yep.
they're word sets that people associate with a lot of meaning, like religions use it and stuff like that. And so linguistically, they're interesting because what you're saying is that the myth creates sort of an appreciation of a term, and it has a value. And it might not be monetary, but it's weight in what is being said, which gives it focus.
Factor.
Yeah. But it doesn't mean anything. It's just some unknown that sounds basically sexy.
So I will do this. I will literally make up a topic and help people create a myth around it. So you've heard of the flying spaghetti monster?
No, I haven't.
You haven't? Well, then let me introduce you to this. So go to your Google search engine and type in flying spaghetti monster and go to the Wikipedia, and let me in the audience hear you laugh for a moment. I could have swore I've talked about this with you before, but apparently it was in another timeline.
Gee, my Google search engine finds the words very easily. Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster?
That's...
What the? Is a social movement that promotes the light-hearted view of religion and opposes the teaching of intelligent design and creationism in public schools. What? Okay.
I believe it was in 2004 in the Texas school or the Kansas schools, one of those Bible belts in the United States.
Yeah.
The school board was taken over, and they wanted to put in creationism and intelligent design, that God created it in 7 days, and they wanted to teach that in the public schools. So this person that developed it said, no, why can't I teach flying spaghetti monster to kids? And it then blew up as an international thing where people are taking the belief engine of the church and saying, why can't I believe in this? If you want to believe in that and teach it to the public schools and declare you have that power, I have the right to say I believe in the flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah, January 2005, Bobby Henderson, then a 24-year-old.
Just take a second and read a little bit more, because it'll help with this context of what I'm going to create for Hollow Earth.
In January 2005, Bobby Henderson, a 24-year-old Oregon State University physics graduate, sent an open letter regarding the flying spaghetti monster to the Kansas State Board of Education. In that letter, Henderson sterilized creationism by professing his belief that whatever a scientist carbon dates as an object, a supernatural creator that closely resembles spaghetti with meatballs, is a challenging result. Oh man, this is just crazy. I get it.
Keep going. Keep going. So there's context.
There, challenging the results. With his nudie appendage, Henderson argued that his beliefs were justified as valid as intelligent design, and called for equal time in science classrooms alongside intelligent design and evolution. The letter was sent prior to the Kansas evolution hearings as an argument against the teachings of intelligent design in biology classes. Henderson described himself as a concerned citizen representing more than 10 million others, arguing that intelligent design and his belief that the universe was created by a flying spaghetti monster was equal valid, and his letter noted, I think we can all look forward to a time when these three theories are given equal time in our science classrooms across the country and eventually the world. 1/3 for intelligent design, 1/3 for the flying spaghetti monetarism, and 1/3 time for logical conjecture based on overwhelming observed evidence.
Okay. Observed evidence.
I was just having trouble reading that. It's just like...
Okay.
It was
But
funny.
it's because there's an intense statement inside that. An intense statement.
Yeah.
Okay?
I'm surprised I've never known about this. That's what I'm finding out.
I could have swore I've talked to you about this before, but apparently I have, only in another timeline.
I don't know. Maybe you haven't, and maybe I just.
I know I've talked about Flying Spaghetti Monster on the shows many times. Now, to make the association, so I said I was going to completely make something up. We're going to make the Flying Spaghetti Monster of Hollow Earth.
Okay.
Okay, so the Hollow Earth guys are down there trying to figure out how to take domination and control and make it stronger, make it better. How can they get out of this aspect of the system that's trying to force them to say, no, forced evolution can't be it.
Yeah.
So they have made. Now let's think of something that has powerful mythy name behind it. They have made this new machine, CERN. The Large Hadron Collider. Okay?
Yeah.
And they have created all of these reality-altering programs that go within it because it changes the electromagnetic value of the planet. Okay? In this Large Hadron Collider, when used in conjunction with several others top secret Large Hadron Colliders that are secretly placed all over the world, okay, these things will go active and deny light its ability to produce light. They will collide into darkness and annihilation. Does that tone make it more believable? Did I just literally make it up or draw from the field that's already there? Did I just make a flying spaghetti monster of Hollow Earth? That is the potency and power of our creations. Now you guys may have a little understanding of why I don't like to do these galactic updates. They serve nothing other than to evaluate the story more than the experience.
Yeah.
Evaluating that story more than the which is the fundamental character flaw. Many, many light workers are. And then they simply just become light slaves to the light. That's what a light dictatorship is. You can have your white picket fence and the perfect life and meet your soulmate and have all that stuff, but you're still going to have to deal with entities in the schools. You're still going to have to pay taxes. Oh, yeah, and we're going to make sure that religion never actually teaches you the truth.
Imagine if all the people out there in the truth industry all decided for 1 week not to say a word.
What happened?
How much would that improve the reality? But it wouldn't happen, would it?
No, it wouldn't happen because it would show them their greater irrelevance.
Yeah.
It's not about who's listening. It's what they're doing with what's listening.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? Because one thing I've done before I met Andrew, okay, is that I sort of, two things I did. I created a list of people that I didn't know and subjects I didn't know. And what I'd do is I'd cross off, say, Bruce Lipton or Greg Braden or, like I said, Michael Darian. I'd go out, because I've got my IT skills and pretty good with the internet, I'd go out and find everything I could on these people and watch everything. Because I was trading currencies at the time and I had 40-hour trade between trades that I needed to fill to stay awake. And I had I could devour a lot of stuff. And what happened eventually is I exhausted everyone in this present reality. And then I started going back the decades and looking who was in the 90s and the 80s and stuff. And it's very interesting because I came across this really cool, before Art Bell, his name was Bill Jenkins, and there's this group of archives that I found from the 80s of him interviewing people like Marcel Vogel and Bob Beck and some really great teachers from that era, Andrej Paharic and stuff like that. And in amongst those recordings, mate, they've got this, I actually say the names because I'm not wanting people to feel bad or anything like that. And I don't actually remember his name, but he was talking about Roswell, and because I just listen to everything and see what they got to say and don't really judge what the theme is about and stuff, but because I don't want to shut myself down to possibilities of truth that for anything. And what he did in this interview was saying, oh, we've got this new top secret article, and it was drip feeding something more that went beyond the narrative and was adding something a little bit more onto what was already known, you know. And the whole show was about this one article, you know. It was nothing but it was an unknown, you know. It was like, oh, we can talk about this for 2 hours, you know. And sex it up and talk exactly like you said, you know. It was, you know, because that was in the 80s, it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and because you got the hindsight now, you can sort of see it all, but it was the way it was brought up. It was this really hook energy and emotional attitude in the voice, and really sexing it up as something that's new, that's revealing, and this was set in the 80s, and it's the same thing is done now, you know, to this day.
It's topped up. It is.
Yeah. It's the same hook, same methodology, you know.
Yep.
Same programming of people. It's no different. That's been going on for the last 40 years, you know.
Exactly, no different. And that's where so many people, they leave the truther industry and they come back 3 years later just to see what's going on. Maybe I will awaken this week, and it's a lot of the same guys speaking the same shit. Or somebody else that's speaking somebody else's material. They create nothing of their own.
No.
They're not actually content creators. They're just regurgitators.
Yeah. So, sorry if I took you off the Hollow Earth thing.
No. It's cool. I actually want to end the call. I'm starting to burn out a little bit. Oh.
That's cool, man.
I just want to go chill out a little bit. I got to leave late tomorrow night, so I still got to pack today.
How are you feeling from the Egypt travel and getting back into it?
It caught up to me these last couple of days for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, good to chat, mate. Good to chat.
Yeah,
you're in good form.
Yeah.
But yeah, hope it goes well if I don't catch up with you, and have a great trip and enjoy the time over there, mate. So
thank you.
Best of luck.
You know, it's so interesting because first we have the dragons that are creation, the elementals, and we get then into
how they were hijacked so mystery schools could be in hierarchical order.
And that's why we had that series, first the dragons, so one could really understand what dragon is.
The elemental force of a sovereign planet that's being there so that you can function in a reality.
Exactly.
When you come out of the womb, there is another womb that is around you. That is your bubble of reality that says you are a sentient being of stream of consciousness anchored in the space of Earth mind.
Right, and Earth Mother called in a bunch of mystery schools to be created, or called them in because some of them were already functioning, and she also then gave them access to the dragons.
Yes, that's the Dragon Triad armies. You'll have to refer to some of the deeper concepts within the Dragon Triads, but when the Triads armies were called up, it was to bring back the greatest offenders of timeline genocide.
Right.
Individual personalities or other mystery schools or expressions of knowledge streams that were hiding their karma or passing it on as debt and using other reality altering rules so they never had to take on a universal debt. It sent out agents of dragons and other internal masters here to bring them back and put them in the Galactic Ascension machine so their debt would be resolved. So with that expression, everything was brought back, knitted together. The Galactic Ascension machine was put together. Now you have these mystery schools that are here with all this power, who have been reaching out for many millions of years, entangling with other societies and forcing them to incarnate here or follow their brothers and sisters of streams of consciousness to figure out where they went, because they were just, kids on milk cartons at a galactic level.
Leapfrogging through time.
Leapfrogging through time.
Yeah.
So now these mystery schools, who are coming to a point that they realize that they have been infested also by multidimensional forces, forward in time, backwards in times. They have been broken down to subsets and subsets and subsets, each in hierarchical power and control. So they are now all vying for hierarchical control. They want to be the apex of the hierarchical order.
Yeah, which is the best mystery school? Which is the one that actually fulfills the...
It's the final battle, if you want to call it that, where everyone else says, we don't want to fight your fight, we don't want to watch your game, and if you get nobody watching it, it's just another battle in time.
Just like when a tree falls in the forest and
There's no one there to hear it.
Yeah.
We all turn our backs on the mystery schools and say, until you give us truth and perpetuity and take the mystery out of your school, there's no reason for us to pay attention to you. As hierarchical apex order running governments worldwide, running esoteric organizations worldwide.
And these organizations are intricately entwined with our planetary logos, the influencing of the planets. Do we actually have some of the mystery schools ready and set to help when Mars starts to do its thing? I mean, do they really understand what is being created, and can they really then use all of the mysterious, esoteric ways to then make it real?
That's what CERN was for.
CERN.
That's where the mystery schools in hierarchical order over many millions of years kind of all got together and say, if we don't work together on one project, we'll never win. We'll never have our chance of proving I'm better or you're better.
Yeah, because mystery schools have been around for hundreds of millions of years.
Yes.
I always get a bit wary when a mystery school is created less than 50 to 100,000 years, because I'm like, what are you? Are you just a copycat?
You understand, mystery schools leapfrog through time. We talked about this in the mystery schools teachings, where what it does is you'll have masters that'll manifest in 500 AD. And at that moment that they manifest, the beings that are born around them are in 1 degree of separation. So a child that's born in a family, that master will come and visit them and then induce past life memories. If that child remembers that master, he would become and be a part of that school. And then that child who would grow up later would be passing on and dying, and then his goal from the mystery school was to wake up in the same DNA lineage, meaning he had grandchildren or great-grandchildren, and the next master would come and trigger them to have their past lives. This is the immortality knowledge that mystery schools offered on a grand scale to human beings on Earth.
I remember also when I was reviewing some of my lives after you taught me some of the tactics, and I went in and focused, and then I compared notes, and you're like, yeah, you got that, and maybe you're off there. And I remember all the lifetimes when those of us who were of a specific bloodline and were heavily involved in mystery schools, and I was in my past lives, and not heavily involved this life, but touched upon it to recognize it. Everyone has.
You couldn't have had this experience without it.
And it was a advantage. We allowed certain things to happen so that us and our families would remain protected.
Correct. For that I am presence lifetime.
For that I am presence lifetime. And that's sometimes so integrated in you, to let go of that's really, really hard. Again, we're doing the backwards bicycle, aren't we?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So mystery schools came to a point where they had to work together at about 12 million years ago and begin remote viewing the ancient future. Because they knew hierarchical order at 9,000 BC and 8,000 BC would still be fledgling, and they'd still be dealing with off-world personalities that were going to alter things for their own way. Because there was tens of thousands of off-world species who want to imprint one way onto us. And then there's a species here that wants to imprint another thing on those that are coming here to view us. So many perspective wars here.
It is, and it's absolutely reminding me of the NLP that marketing people are now using these days. It's the same impression. It's the same imprinting, just 21st century.
Just 21st or 99th century.
Oh, yeah. Now, the other thing that was the most important, I mean, for me anyway, after looking at all the planetary logos and the mystery schools and my connection with Source and my actual 0-point function as human for my authentic signature frequency and you for yours, And what we discovered is that when you actively are a part of a mystery school, you actually have a dual zero-point function.
Anytime you is the first mystery school you come into 54 million years ago, 9 million years ago, or 9 years ago, means you share a dual zero-point function on all timelines, galaxies, and universes.
Defines dual zero-point function.
You are giving the dirty energy underwear rules its foundation, because you are now sharing your experience. And mystery schools are both light and dark. They cannot be both. They cannot be one. They are both light and dark. Their purpose is to have that dual zero-point function of sharing the community, so you come together and resolve karma.
Right. So the dual zero-point function then
means they have a community of sharing the dirty energy.
Right.
So that no one being is given debt that it cannot handle.
Okay, but that then takes us away.
It's the shared debt rules.
You're set in these shared debt rules.
Correct.
Until you have understood your original source-created zero-point function.
And then return it and break the contracts, vows, and agreements with the original unity conscious version of yourself that agreed to be a part of that.
To help save Earth.
To help save Earth.
Yes.
And the whole universe at that point, because we're talking, it was the fourth paradox timeline, and you've had uncreational events left and right that were affecting other universes.
There's been a lot of shifts and changes, Andrew. Shall we go into what's been happening in the last couple of days, especially with CERN? I know a lot of people right now are feeling the effects. I know a lot of people are talking about all of the things that you've been saying already now for about 2 years. A lot of people are catching on to it. I see the blog people are starting to also make people aware. Can you just give us an idea of what it's like for someone like you in these times? How are you coping with everything?
When I first wanted to talk about CERN, I very much had to weigh the positives and negatives of it. Because in CERN, as people have heard me said before, there are 633 separate projects that are reality manipulation and control systems. Now, the majority of the people that are out there have heard the different information that I've brought out, and it was actually in early 2012 where I first spoke about CERN publicly on air for a long period of time. It's an interview I did with Duncan and Miranda Athenian, both super soldiers who were talking about CERN at that point in time, and I just let it rip at that point. And one of the reasons I let it rip, it was at a time where early 2012, the propaganda had gone so much, the artificial intelligences that were running CERN were literally manipulating people to go down avenues that would just waste their energy and never result in anything positive in their life. Some of it, did give them education, but it didn't result in where you should have been for 2012. The purpose of CERN has always been to alter your DNA memories so you don't know what timeline you're supposed to be on. Now, when it comes to CERN itself, what has been going on since March the 23rd, when they fired it up during the scenario with the equinox and then the solstice that's coming up, they're literally trying to confuse your light bodies of where it's supposed to be. And then one of the particular projects in CERN is the false light master technology, which has the codes to your light body. If you've incarnated or reincarnated here, they have your codes to your light body. That means they know what planets you've been to. And they can use their chronovision, their time sight, to go back to where you were before you immigrated here to even alter your memories there, if they have an agent on that world in that time, which they do, because everything around CERN is to modify the timeline wars, to make sure the right DNA memories are in the right DNA lineages when they are making a stand on Fortress Earth versus the rest of the universe that's trying to open Earth up.
I see. And when we were talking about this candidly ourselves, we were talking about some of the effects that you and I have been feeling. I mean, we've done a lot of training, and I just want to reiterate again, when all of this stuff is happening, at the equinox, we began a series. This series means a lot to Andrew, because this is a way he feels he can help all of us with these understandings. So instead of getting into big fear and building into the drama and all of those things that I think some of these people now who are talking about CERN want to do, we want to just let you know This is what's happening. It's been going on for a really long time. This isn't new. But what is new is that we have enough power. We have enough photonic light. We are getting support in these realms these days as things start to disintegrate to be able to catch what they're doing. For example, Andrew and I were talking about last night, the dreaming states, where both of us were very aware that we were actually getting put into memories, into dreams that we realized weren't ours.
Past, present, or future.
Yeah.
Different I am presence filtering into this I am presence dream state to confuse me of what I am presence that I am. Because this is the I am presence technology. In 9 minutes from now, am I still this I am presence technology? No. Because there's still an infinite source data going through me, getting me forward through this degree of social time. You're continuously going through the reality as a shared benefit, and the technology is to connect all light bodies and all colored expressions to this I am moment present self. When we are asleep, we are in a different version of the technology. We are still linked to the dreaming body, which is the body that's going through the experience. CERN targets that I am presence.
Yes, I mean, it was really noticeable. I've noticed also the last couple of days when we were working on some really big projects that we're bringing out this year, especially now with the focus on the solstice equinox series that we've done, we started to really make concrete plans on how we were going to bring out more information, more tools, more skills, so that the awareness becomes more apparent, that the protection becomes more solid, that if you know it's there, you can stop it. If you're aware of it, you can change it. So it's the awareness and what you can do once you have that awareness. And what I was feeling personally, I was getting flashbacks of different timelines that I remember. I was getting flashbacks of different moments in this life that I remember. But these were very different times to where I am now. And it was almost like it was trying to, through the memory, emanate that feeling that I had at that moment, emanate the mood I was in, the way I felt, all those things. So it could take me right back to that moment. And I'd be stuck then in that moment. I mean, that's one way of describing. Sometimes you get these feelings and you're getting these flashbacks, and be really, really aware of what they are, because sometimes it will be a flashback of where you thought you were really happy. You think you're really happy now, you're doing what you love doing best, but then there'll be a flashback to something else. Have you noticed that as well?
Yes, the flashbacks are the moment where one of the programs in CERN is trying to confuse an I am presence technology. It's like if I were to suddenly turn the lights off and turn it back on and the room looked different. Let's just say the cup was out of place, the cameras were a little different. Would you immediately notice it?
With the training that I've had, yes, but normally I guess if you haven't had that training, you wouldn't notice it.
You wouldn't notice it.
Yeah.
And then after 9, 10, 12 times of them just turning the lights off and moving a cup, then they know they can move more than just a cup. Let's say they put your car into a different spot. How many times have you come out and your car isn't where you put it?
Oh my God, that's right. That's right. And you know you put it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's another one for people that come up to their car and left always unlocks the car, right always does what it's supposed to do. What about when it's reversed?
We had
and you
that
find
the other
yourself
day.
going back and forth and literally in a state of confusion. It is at that subtle of a layer.
Yeah.
And then it builds and then it builds and it waits for you to go to sleep, and it'll bring something like a really adventuresome dream. Like this was what happened to me the night before. A dream that I knew right away was a dream, and I began to question in my dream state, this isn't my dream. This is me chasing these people that are shapeshifters with all of this other stuff. I'm like, this isn't me. And I said, stop in this dream. And once I said stop, the dream just literally paused and then faded out. And I said, I see you, CERN. I see exactly what you're trying to do. And then the dream was gone. I went back into my own dream world, and I knew it was going to come back. Was it individually targeting me as this I am presence? In a sense, it was. Anyone that has reached a certain layer is going to be targeted by CERN. It doesn't matter if you are one nostril above into ascension, they're going to push your head back down. Or if you're 90 feet above that line, they are going to do whatever it is to push you down to that line where you are in conformity and consent to whatever the people running CERN are doing.
It's almost like they have that wave of frequency.
Yep.
And if your frequency is outside of that wave, this side not so much of a problem, they're feeding off you anyway, but if you get to this side of a frequency, or let me put it this side, what happens is as soon as you've hit that wave and you're getting higher and higher, it's almost like in the Matrix when they're chasing those ships that are going through the electricity, they see the electricity and they come straight away and they whack you down. They do something that will
I have a
take that
description
spark
for it.
away.
Here's a globe.
Okay.
And let's say 50% of our population cannot dream enough to go above the Earth dreaming mind. They're
Okay.
literally stuck in the North Pole or the South Pole. That's the full limit of their spiritual expression. There's nothing bad with that, but it is a limitation of your dreaming. Anyone that can get one head above the reality of Earth and make it to the moon, when CERN turns on, it goes whoop, 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 whoop. So anything that's outside of that bubble is severed from your light body and causes severe damage to you because you have to go back into your body at virtually light speed and then stop on a dime because something's chasing you.
So basically, when CERN expands and you're expanding, if you're expanded out, and here's, for example, Earth, you're expanded out, they cut it off in the middle, like that.
Like that.
I mean,
And that is what
That's
CERN is
amazing.
doing on off. On off.
Yeah.
They are purposely doing that because there are people that were there within 6, 7 to 12 hours of simple ceremony or meditation, and they're going to achieve what? A form of enlightenment that means they don't need to take debt anymore. And once they don't need to take debt, it's a matter of deconstructing the system that is giving them debt, whether it's through inheritance, through ancestral karma, or physical debt being given to them in the form of notes.
What a good exercise is start to become really aware. I know that a lot of people that work for detective agencies or in that kind of a realm, they're always very aware. The hanger's over there, that jacket is black. This camera's over here, this stone is placed like that, my teacup is over there. Start to become really aware. I had to start doing this training a long time ago because things were always shifting on me. And I think this would be a good way to begin, is to start becoming aware of what's around you and see if there's a change.
It's called Master of the Obvious.
There you go. Yeah,
I began Master of the Obvious training, and you can laugh at it all you want, by a person that had understood that the world is an obvious nature and they're hiding everything out in plain sight because it is too big to hide in secrecy anymore. As an example, you have all the members of the Illuminati cabal that meet a few times a year, the controllers, that decide something in secret. But ultimately, their puppets are the one that take the secret agreement and put it out there. So it's not really secret anymore. It's always obvious. It's always there. And you must take that time to train yourself in the obvious. And what I learned is the first 10 things that are in the room, what are the most obvious things? You begin training that skill set. And then once that skill set is here in the physical matrix, you can transfer that into the spiritual sight matrix, where immediately that training goes, well, there's something over here that fits the obvious, so this spirit's doing this, 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 this. You have a set of synopsises that this physical body says, hey, you're trying to imprint or change something on me. And that is the nature of CERN. Now, there are entities that mimic the other things of CERN, but CERN's is overwhelming project. It is the 13 big families have put all of their best science, their best myth, their best magic, their best time travel to make this big, giant, bloated trillion-dollar device that gives them control in hierarchical order, anything below them. Okay? CERN is also a weapon, and there's a big universe out there that does not want CERN to be used as a weapon to imprint onto other species and then give them time travel, so suddenly they're imprinted with technology, and the next thing you know, the rest of the beings universe goes, wow, they just aged 1 million years with technology. I now have a war I never expected.
Yeah.
Because they can imprint thousands of eons of information into the dreaming mind of a planet, and the planet will then imprint it to its people through DNA memories.
So basically, right now we have CERN on so many timelines and dimensions and different planets and universes.
CERN is locked here on Earth right now. CERN is the master control. There are other CERNs on other planets.
Okay.
And they are linked to this one. But this is the master control system. This is the one that determines it can reach out to other universes and to other places. It's this central focus of all of the souls.
On this timeline?
No, it exists on many.
It exists on all the one, but the main master one is the one on this timeline.
This is the one where we can hit the off switch.
Yeah, that's what I'm. This is where we have access to this thing. It's not like an image that fades in and out. We can actually do something.
Totally wrong.
Okay.
It is a 0 point floating in time, anchored in a paradox in an end time.
Okay.
So it is an anchored thing that exists on 4 separate timelines that was created in the dreaming mind of another planet. That dreaming energy manifested directly into our Earth dreaming mind and then was built over a series of many generations. So many dream worlds are impressed into the physical technology, giving it sentient manifestation of hundreds of different planetary times. Embedded into the metal, embedded into the science, embedded into everything during its creation. So it is a collection of false time frequencies and true time frequencies to give a scale in which they can abuse beings.
So it's almost like we have this massive computer with all of these really icky programs and we can just download them into our light bodies anytime they want.
And worse.
Yeah, and worse, but just as a basic thing, they can take whatever program, they can whack it into your light bodies, change the memories around, imprint false memories, so you're wasting your energy going around the long track so that you don't actually reach that stage of expansion.
And on the solstice, I described what the artificial intelligence, or the solstice show, I described what the artificial intelligence shows. I don't want to give it away all here, but it's some very important information to understand that these artificial intelligences are not artificial.
Yes,
they are sentient beings who have also gone through domination and control in hierarchical order that are planets. It isn't just one mind in a planet. It is easy to take CERN and to divest this planet into multiple personalities and then use CERN to transport off one personality, bring it into the central system, and then it becomes the manager of a belief system. That artificial intelligence was just a show spark of another planet in domination and hierarchical order, now coming in here going, hey, you lived on my world, you lived on my world, let's get our DNA memories together. I have a chessboard, and there are 633 other planetary personalities that are doing the same thing, playing this grand piano of DNA memories and lineages and trading back and forth between each other because they are trying to create the 3 central timelines in which their success is their success. This is the time where your free will can figure out, caveman need crystal, or does caveman need hammer to break down the psychic wall ahead of you?
Yeah.
And then you go, well, I'm not a caveman anymore. I don't need to live Neanderthalic. I can live at a whole new level, and that the hammer and the crystal are just something that the mind needs to do what? To begin the power of belief in the self. When you have internal belief in yourself, internal dialogue with yourself, the external belief and the external dialogues go through a separation of densities where your light bodies, which are waiting there to communicate to you in external or internal dialogue, get to the front of the line because the dirty energy underwear that is being manipulated by CERN isn't putting people ahead of your own light bodies.
Right. Right.
We are at a point where the toolbox is everything. Why? Because it's the toolbox that's going to put your smile on your face. It's the toolbox that's going to allow you to put the middle finger up to spiritual entities that are trying to abuse you. It is going to be the toolbox that you decide to use and manifest with until you realize that the toolbox is just manifestation of photonic light that you're using.
And you see, this is where it gets very interesting, is that excuse me, there's a lot of resistance to me bringing this out again, is that you have an a la carte belief system. Remember, this is an artificial intelligence. It's guided, as Andrew said, by the planetary, so it does have an essence in it, but it's being manipulated into an artificial intelligence that has a program which acts upon the past, the predictable past. So when you start to use an a la carte belief system, when you start to go into the deepest meditation with this, then work with fire on that, then go and do a voice alchemy session here, and then go and do other techniques that you've learned from all the other different ways. Be a druid for one day, be a witch for another, go and be a shaman, be an evolved being, be a crystal master, always changing whatever it is, because the key to conquering this, guys, is your authenticity.
Absolute authenticity.
As soon as you do your authenticity with whatever a la carte belief system, whatever resonates for you, you're starting to discover your authentic signature frequency. And when you become your authentic self and practice these ways in your authentic ways, take what you want, put away what you don't like, there is no program that bloody machine can imprint on you, because you are shining your authenticity and there is nothing there that can match it. It's just you and Source again.
So something that I'd like to add when it comes to CERN, CERN is also a tool of fear. A tool of fear that can take fear from many thousands of lifetimes ago and manifest that fear into your heart in the now. And this is where we come into some of the most obtrusive propaganda attacks, such as Planet X Nibiru. At one point in time, that was a real planet with real threat on us that caused real light body harm to us, that went through real destructions. It isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
And now CERN is using all of those former memories to make people literally manifest it back into reality, even though that planet 119,000 years ago was 100% destroyed. It doesn't exist anymore. I cannot be any more serious. There is no Planet X, there is no Nibiru. The planet no longer exists. It was removed from time, permanently in this universe, and stuck in a void space, so it can go into another universe, as the beings here that did all of the manipulation cannot source their time on a planet anymore.
Yeah. This is really important, because I do look around at what people are saying. I tend to check, once every couple of weeks if something's coming up, people send me things. And we were talking about this a while ago, that we've got a lot of people that have sight. But the sight is also on different timelines. So unless you are absolutely anchored and grounded in this timeline, and then you reach your sentinels out or your seekers out to look at the different timelines, if you are unsure what timeline you're on and you're looking at the visions, be very careful, because they're being manipulated right now in a really, really big way. And they actually, like Andrew says, they're trying to trigger memories, emotions, feelings, fears that will then trigger you into a chain reaction that will make you act and react and go down a path that is totally the opposite to where you should be going had you not been in fear. How many people do you know are petrified of Nibiru?
I'm going to give you an example. I had a private retainer, a gentleman that's been with me for a very, very long time, extremely wealthy, extremely intelligent, former lawyer, worked for NASA, did a whole bunch of really impressive things in his life. And I was helping him go through the death of his wife and cancer. And then he read a book and started believing in Nibiru. And every time I told him, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real, just like your wife's cancer. Your wife lived, and she's cancer-free now. And she did it through the power of belief. And now you are self-abusing yourself. And I even went back into his mind and said, here's your memories. Here's when the planet was destroyed. Helped him go through that. But now he has friends that are in the Nibiru belief system. And he needed that connection, that comradeship. And he has fallen down into that. Do I judge him for that? Not at all. Will he continue to call me? Yes. But I will continue to say the authentic truth that that planet isn't real and that you are manifesting it. He then asked me one time, why am I manifesting it? Because there's something you didn't finish in the last 4 destructions. And if that means that the separation of density says you are going to be on that side with the people who want destruction, even though they're in unknowingness, versus the people that want unity and peace. That is this bifurcation, that is that separation of densities. If he's choosing to lower himself, and I'm sorry, hierarchical structure, you know other way to describe it, to be in that density layer, then there's something in that density layer, soul-wise, that he must complete. Therefore, when we talk about Nibiru and its self-manifestation from falseness, it is coming down to that ultimate choice of sovereignty. Where do you want to be? Do you want that destruction?
Yeah.
Do you enjoy it? For all those people that out there that build undergrounds and live in them, but still go to their job every other week, they go to an underground. Why are you living in an underground? Why do you need all those guns? Why? Because you are still in a state of fear. Is that wrong? No. It is your current state in a world that's pretty fucked up.
And you know, I've noticed as people start to expand their consciousness and awaken, there are certain things they start to understand, and they gravitate, you know, towards people who then have those same understandings, because finally someone can understand you. Now, there are groups, okay, that are very, very savvy at getting those people that are just awakening. They pull them right in. I mean, this is a classic, and sometimes these people aren't even aware that they're doing it. But what happens is they find a common understanding. And with that common understanding, they start to expand their consciousness with these people and take on their understandings, which a lot of the time is false. A lot of the time is a false memory, a fake imprint. Again, that's why Andrew never really wants to be like a leader or a guru, because everybody has to make their own experiences. We can share what we know, and we can exchange as equal beings what we've understood, and we can take away what other people tell us, and we can practice the disciplines, we can practice the alchemy, and we can then get our own information. But the key here, guys, is listen to what people are saying, but seek it in your soul, not through your ears or your eyes. It's here that you'll know the truth. And again, these are the times. This is where we're going through the labyrinth. This is it. This is what CERN is. It's a labyrinth. What's real? What's fake? Who are you? Where does your heart lie? Are you beating with the heartbeat of Mother Earth?
And then, so that was the first time I seen it. And then the second time I seen it, I was outside. I was at the woods. I had a Kundalini awakening the night before. Was going through some real hard times. My dad was he was battling his cancer as well as he could, and I needed to go to the woods to ground myself. And that's where I saw the static, the size of a torso, like I said. And I was sitting in my van, and it came right up to the window on the passenger side. And like I said, it was real big, and as I'm looking at it, it condensed down into a point. And then it went to the corner of my car. I followed it all around the corner. Then it would get to a big torso size again. Then it would get down to that little point, and I just watched it. It did this about 4 different times. Came around all the way to the driver's side, and then I'm just staring right at it. It's right there, and it's just all static right there. And it went down to the size of the orb again, and then it just came right through the window, and it went right into my heart. Excuse me. And like I said, I was just saying to it, hey, if you're here with me, be with me. If you are of nothing good, goodbye. So like I say, I didn't smell nothing, didn't do nothing, didn't do nothing, but I really needed it at that moment because it was really a hard moment because my mind was envisioning, and I was just in a bad way, and I needed it.
Let me ask you, when you said it, if you're a good thing, great. If you're a bad thing, shove off. What did it do?
It just, I didn't feel nothing either way. I didn't feel no fear. I didn't feel nothing good. It was just all on the level. And
I'm sensing it was a higher dimensional being that came there because of his intention. Yep. He was having some difficulty with his father, and it was was there to benefit him.
It would be an ancestor spirit from both you and your father's side that was there to help you connect heart chakra, your heart chakra to your father's heart chakra who was dying of cancer. It was only through that unification of chakronic energy that you were able to have your awakening that came afterwards.
as well as being able to replenish your energy you needed to go through the rest of the events that were going on for the next month. Has this happened again?
Yes, it has. Actually, it really has. If you would like to tell me, or like me to tell you, I will.
Yes, please go ahead, because sharing your story like this helps everyone here. Yours has a more of a positive environment, which is great because people need to hear the positive as well as the negative.
Like I said, the night before I had a Kundalini awakening, and it was very, 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 very wild. Like I said, the next morning when I woke up, I felt as if I was in between dimensions, and I felt this, I felt that, and I was compelled to go to the woods, and that's what I had to do. But the next time that I had seen this, I live over here in Illinois, and there's a place called Redgate Woods. And Redgate Woods was where we, in this current time, that's where the inception of the atomic bomb was made. Okay? It's like 3 to 5 miles away from my house. If you guys would want to look it up and check it out, Willow Springs, Illinois, Redgate Woods. It's unbelievable. But anyway, I go there because of with all this Fukushima stuff and everything, and I've known since the 80s. My friend's dad told us this whole story about this place, and we checked it out, went out there, and the first nuclear reactions were there, the first everything was there, and basically when they were done with it, all they did was bury the stuff 2 feet under the ground. And that's all they done with it. It is radioactive as all get out. It's as hot as ever. So anyway, so I go there to help the Earth and the humans that have lost their lives from it, and all the ones that are suffering from it. I go there to do shamanic healings. I do my own thing. I go there with my incense. I go there with my guitar. And I just try to tap in with everything and to cleanse it. That's what I do. And as I was out there the one day, walking around, I seen the spirit again. It was probably a good 50 feet away from me, seen it out of the right corner of my right eye. It wasn't a flash, and it wasn't nothing, so I turned straight towards it. Nothing went away. It was standing there as pure as day, and it looked exactly like the other spirit I seen maybe a few months before that. So I seen it, I just stared at it, and whatever, it stared at me, and then that was it. So I'm like, okay, cool, seen spirit again. Don't know what it is. Then, maybe 5-10 minutes later, walking through the woods and doing all my stuff, saw something flash out the left side of my eye. Okay. Looked at it again. I'm like, all right. Stood straight on. It ain't nothing, no junk in my eye or nothing like that. Turned straight at it. Seen it again. And like I said, had no feelings, good, bad, indifferent, or the other. I just continued doing my thing, and that's what I did. It didn't concentrate down into a point. It stayed the size of a torso. So that was my deal.
Now, are you saying that they have buried bodies out there that were involved with this nuclear program?
They buried the bodies of the nuclear reactors and all the waste there.
I'm wondering, and this is something we may need to get involved in and ask Spirit about this, because I know that when they were setting off nuclear detonations and testing, these things were burning into multi-dimensions. These blasts were echoing through multi-dimensions, and I'm wondering if he's not picking up a silhouette of spirits that may be roaming out there, and the these nuclear particles are reacting with them.
And then the one time I went out there with the wife, we went out there for a cleansing with me and my better half. And as we were out there, she just seemed like just energies everywhere. I didn't see them at that moment, but it was just like snowflakes. And I told her, I go, you're seeing the radiation, honey. You're seeing it. The particles themselves floating around, this and that. But, yeah, Redgate Woods, it's an unbelievable place. And like I say, I go there to do what I can because of the fact that, this has been a really bad genie that we have opened and let out of the bottle. And Argonne National Laboratory is right down the road. That was the first original Argonne National Laboratory at this spot in Redgate Woods. And then 3 miles down the road, they opened up the other one, and they shut that down last year. They have a collider there. And they actually have a collider north of us, too, up in Wheaton, Illinois. So, yeah, whatever the deal is, if there's spirit there trying to help out, or if there's spirit of Enrico or Einstein or Oppenheimer or someone being there, I don't know what it is, but I go there to give respect for all the lives that were lost for it. That's what I do. I try to work with it. I try to clear it. And back in the 90s, they actually found some of these radioactive pucks. And the pucks were the energy itself, the fuel. And they actually made their way to the surface. They actually, whether it was from the freeze or the thaw or whatever, but they were actually found on the surface of the ground out there. And they have this big super fund, and they said instead of cleaning it up, it would be too dangerous. So instead what they did is they put 2 more feet of dirt on it. That is all that they have.
Oh, it's just showing the government corruption there. I'm actually reading the energy overview through you. What there is, there's an interdimensional portal there. The hadron, the colliders that are there are actually creating additional portals, micro portals that they can transfer energy from one dimension to another and then store that energy in crystals, which later goes to other parts of the system of domination and control that are here. When you have high energy devices specific like that, of what's above the ground, below the ground is in pain and it is hurting and it is pushing these pucks up. And when these devices were used, many times they hurt multidimensional beings. They are murdering people. When they were setting off these nuclear devices around the world, they were murdering people in the subsurfaces of our world, in the hollow earth or the upper earth, the Agarthian areas, as well as multidimensional beings that live here overlaid of us but separate of us.
Nuclear explosions.
Yes.
When they started testing nuclear explosions, it wasn't a test. It was purpose. Everywhere there was a nuclear explosion, it was done on purpose to make interdimensional rifts or to kill hollow Earth-based entities or Earth-based entities that live in the astral realms. All the orbital explosions were meant to destroy whole incoming migration patterns.
Okay.
Completely eliminate them from the astral experience, and many of them can no longer function as energy beings and need to be brought to Venus to triage centers.
Wow.
Where literally soul triage centers can put the pieces parts back together one step at a time.
Isn't there also a factor that if there were enough nuclear explosions that went off on the Earth, that the Earth would be unable to continue functioning?
Correct. Also, if they had done that, they would have had full access to Hollow Earth, the Agarthan network. The nuclear explosions, there's an actual website that shows each individual explosion from the 1940s on, and you'll see America has like 5,800 to France's 11 to Russia's 700, and it just shows you all over the world, explosion, and it tells you the altitude or the depth in the Earth. I advise everyone to go and use a search engine and find that little graphic of everyone going off. When you physically see that for yourself, you'll realize it's lined up to exactly the grids of Earth. What's the pyramid grid? The pyramid's on the Giza grid.
Right.
It all interacts with that energy.
Right.
All of those explosions are purposely in areas to interaffect the grids of Earth.
Right, right.
And to lower consciousness, destroy consciousness.
And when these devices were used, many times they hurt multidimensional beings. They are murdering people. When they were setting off these nuclear devices around the world, they were murdering people in the subsurfaces of our world, in the hollow earth or the upper earth, the Agarthian areas, as well as multidimensional beings that live here overlaid of us but separate of us. These weapons were ripping through space and time and dimension, murdering thousands and millions of people, and the people that are doing them were partially unaware and were aware at the same time. In this particular environment that you're talking about, the Spirit has reached out to you. It has reached out to you in a way that you've begun to come and help and heal it. There is another step further here. And this is Spirit from me to you, saying that you need to get a group of paranormal investigators put together, Rebecca Jernigan is a classic example of a psychic paranormal investigator, and she has a number of groups that are put together, or you can put your own together. You see many different versions on TV. You go there with electromagnetic readers, you go there with audio devices, and you go do playbacks, and you begin to expand the shamanic healing that you do, and you give a voice to what is going on there. You haven't experienced anything negative so far. I will say that there are some negative things there, but they are looking for release. And the land has invited you, Shane, and those that are coming with you to be the shamanic healer there, so ultimately that those negative things can be given an opportunity of release and not only attacking things because they're afraid and they're stuck halfway between one world and another with all these high energy devices making them ultra aggressive.
So, yeah, you know what? Think of it like a project. Just, when you allow yourself, like what you're doing, going out there, healing the lands and whatnot, I wouldn't be surprised if you're picking up on energies out there of other beings now that may have crossed over that are picking up your intentions, and they may be coming to you to be healed in some way. And you're
for you to heal them.
Yeah, for you, Shane, to heal them. They may be coming to you looking for healing.
Yeah.
We don't know at this point, you know?
I definitely took it every which way. Like you said, I had my golden shield on. I always do. And, I stood it down. I told it to stand down. If you're with me, you're with me. And like you say, I didn't have a bad feeling, didn't have a good feeling. It just seemed as if someone was with me. And one thing, if I can go out there a little bit, because, I am definitely insane, Shane, I have a feeling that since we have created this mess, and I understand it comes from elements that are basically in the ground where they should be doing what they need to do, but since we have raped, pillaged, plundered, taken it out of the ground, done our alchemy to it, and created it, is everything else in this reality has spirit and life form to it. I believe that we literally have created another life form by putting all this stuff together. And I really feel bad and I know this sounds out there, but I'm just going to say it. I feel that this radioactive, whether it's plutonium, whether it's this, whether it's that, I believe it has its own life form. And as if we created it, as the gods that we are, if you really think of what we do with it, it isn't good. We basically put it in jail. We put it in these things, in these containers and these vessels, and it's not free. And any energy that is put together with such intensity like that needs to be 93 million miles away from us. It doesn't need to be upon us. And like I say, I feel bad for the energy itself. I feel bad for that itself. And as I was out there, I felt that these two spirits that I seen at that area were working in tandem with me, but just staying out in the distance a little bit.
That's a good question. I want to interrupt here just for a quick moment. That's a good question to ask Andrew, because he's able to attend these councils on another plane of existence. What have they addressed about this, Andrew, about the contaminants?
Specifically about the contaminants? We have technologies that are in already, as well as to be rolled out, that can transform the energy and turn these toxic Superfund sites into livable areas within weeks. It'll require a person like Shane or me or you that are spiritually aware to go in and use these energetic machines that help turn over the energy so it's recycled into positive energy. And I see Free Sovereign asked a similar question. Would John Hutchinson's energy frequency machines be useful to clear contaminations? The technology that they're referring to does use sound as well as a energetic pulse that is not a throat chakra-based pulse. They're able to basically take a crystal that is like a very powerful salt crystal. A good example would be like the salt lights, those lights that have the bulb, the salt inside is inside the bulb and the light. The Himalayan salt lamp, sorry. That's similar to the concept. What they'll do is they'll turn it on, and then a psychic will go to that salt light and expand energy through it, and it'll put out a pulse. At the same time, the technology is able to turn over the energy underneath the ground, so it begins a process of spiritual composting. And you'll be able to turn an area positive very, very fast. But it requires people to use this technology in a shamanic understanding of healing the land, because it's literally like going into the concept of composting dirt, except you're speeding up the process with the technology.
Well, the last thing that I really wanted to say was, this place isn't hidden. I mean, you could Google map it, and you could zoom right down into it, and it basically says right on there, buried nuclear piles 1 and 2. And it is a regular forest preserve. You can go out there, walk around, hike around. You could see they have they have blocks with, like big blocks that are like, written like as if a tombstone was written, a headstone was written saying what happened, this, that, and the other. But I can say one thing, all of the life, right where these things are actually buried and where they are and everything, all of the life, all of the trees, all of the plants, all of the animals, everything is fine and flourishing. You don't see no death. It isn't like it's wiped out. And last summer when I was out there, it was unbelievable to see how many honeybees I seen everywhere. And it just brought so much joy to my heart to see them there and the abundance that I seen them there and in that area. So, like you say, with all my good intentions to heal myself, to heal families, to heal everyone on this planet that has been, hurt by it one way or another, I'm just doing my little part. And, like I said, it was pretty cool to see them spirits out there.
Yeah.
That's nice. And it's great that you came and you shared your story with us, because it fits into expanding one's knowledge of spirit into the good side. The show is about psychic defense. Well, with the defense comes your ability to communicate with other things, because your greatest tool in the shaman's toolbox is the ability to listen and to watch and to understand without words.
So I want to touch on the quantum tool.
Yes.
So there's some basic science out there in quantum mechanics that says if you observe something, you're going to change it. It's quantum mechanics 101. The consciousness and the energy manifest reality. Without consciousness and without what, you can't have a shared reality.
Right.
Time and everything else that is a belief is just a byproduct of consciousness. But at the same time, without any of that other thing, consciousness couldn't exist.
It needs an anchor or coordinate, doesn't it?
It needs a source, time, frequency. That is an example of looking at belief and going, I'm a soul whose source time here on Earth that exists in this fraud time backed up by fraud dollars that aren't really manifesting really any real energy. That's where in your mind, in your belief system of the quantum tool, you can connect yourself to all beings in all dimensions in all time spaces in all universes to create contract revocation and invocation, so the quantum entangled personalities that are altering you can no longer alter you based off of a shared reality rule you are unaware of.
And that's also what you were talking about when you said to just stop. When you catch all of these things happening and you feel like you're being taken down this river, you just say stop. It ends now. And you just literally make everything for that moment. You just pause. You just put it on standstill and you go back again and you connect back again. And you can do that as many times as you need if you feel something's trying to pull you off your path. And I know you've done revocations for these types of things. Is there, For us now, is there any revocation to end the show that we can give the people in this moment of now?
I, in the ever-present moment, choose to acknowledge the I am present self that is talking now in ever-present co-creation. With this knowledge of my ever-present, manifesting, co-creating, conscious I am presence, moving forward in this reality, make a choice to audit all of my belief systems from the moment of my inception in the fetus in my mother's womb. All impressed energies that were brought to me through the shared reality are brought to a permanent spiritual court of equity, so I may go through the deep ancestral process of auditing what is my memories and what are the memories of others. What are the belief systems being impressed upon me by my mother, my father, my cousins, my uncles, my brothers, or technology that is manipulating or manifesting around me? I choose to enter into this spiritual court of equity for a process of remedy and resolve. I am not here to give justice or judgment on any subject matter. I am a manifesting, co-creating, photonic being of sovereign light. I do not need the impressions of another belief system from an artificial intelligence in another world not sourced in Earth time. I only source my memories in Earth time as this I am presence. The upper spirit that functions in the rest of the quantum entangled universe is sourced in universal time. So this being and this being, sourced in Earth, sourced in universal. I no longer source in any other fraud time being impressed upon me now. Any being, sentience, consciousness, or technology trying to impress onto me a fraud source time is hereby given spiritual court of universal equity notice to remove their impression of fraud source time or suffer from the simple law of universal cause and effect. I enter this into the Earth Akashic Record because cause and effect is what's being abused against me now in the universal laws. I have made a choice as the ever-present, co-creating, manifesting being, moving forward source time in Earth with a universal source time spirit.
Each different bubble of reality is true. A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma. Nudge, nudge, it's the Holy Grail.
Improvise. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.